The Red Army first Chinese watch isn't all it claims to be, but history can be a little hazy sometimes. Hi and welcome to Last Watch. If you're new to the channel, then please consider subscribing, like this video and hit the notifications button. I'd hate for you to miss out on any of my future content. Today's watch has been sent to me by Merkur. Merkur describe themselves as a young, affordable luxury brand from mainland China, selling high quality, high value watches for watch lovers worldwide. Within their ranks they have brands such as Pierre Paulin, Ford and Size N, none of which I've heard of or know anything about. Drop me a comment if you have anything from any of those brands. The absolute most you will shell out for a Merkur watch is $999, and that's for a double tourbillon. Their most affordable option comes in at a snip under $100 and is the subject of today's review. This is the Red Army first Chinese watch, the Wuxing Homage, which will cost you $99. You can shave $40 off that price by using my discount code LASTWATCH, which will bring the price down to $59, or not much more than £40 if you're in the UK, which you might consider a bit of a bargain. However, I would suggest putting that credit card down, at least for the duration of this video. The Red Army watch has been sent to me free of charge, and although I'm not being paid for or on any kickback from Merkur, under YouTube regulations, I have to make it clear that this is a sponsored video. Regardless of that fact, I will as always give a fair and impartial review. Let's start by looking at the watch's specifications. It has a diameter of 38mm, a lug width of 20mm, a lug to lug of 44.5mm. The case thickness, including that supersized crystal, is only 12.1mm. The weight on the bracelet minus 9 scaly links is a mere 68.4 grams. Almost perfect statistics for a potential dress watch. The Red Army is described as a Wuxing homage to the first Red Army Chinese watch, which Merkur quite specifically on their website say came into existence at 5:45 on March 24th, 1955. I'm guessing that's 5:45 PM and not AM. Either that or the night shift were in a rush to get home. There is some dispute as to whether the original Red Army watch actually went into full production. Although China did make watches for the Air Force and Navy divers, there was no official watch for the Chinese Army. It's thought the 1955 watch may have consisted of prototypes only, one of which can be seen in the Tianjin History Museum, quite possibly the blueprint for this homage. The 38mm case diameter of the Red Army watch may be small by modern standards, but it's actually been upsized from the original prototype, which measured in at only 36mm. The face of the 316L stainless steel case is brushed, whereas the mid-case has been highly polished. The mid-case slopes down to some quite slender lugs, which drop lower than the case back. The finishing is pretty decent for a $100 watch. Even better if you use the discount code. The crown, like the case, might also be considered a modest size. Actually, it's bloody tiny, and there's a bit of unwelcome friction on winding that, courtesy of the coin edge knurling, will help to exfoliate the skin on your forefinger. Buyer beware. The crown is finished with a polished star that stands proud from a sandblasted background, which looks a little rough under macro. It pulls out quite audibly to let you adjust the simple three-hander. The second hand does not hack. For you watch newbies out there, that means the movement and the second hand will continue to tick regardless of the crown position. There is the Slimmest polished fixed bezel that frames a rather substantial domed mineral crystal. Effectively, the Red Army watch has a pretty slim profile of around 8mm. The dome adds a further 4mm to that thickness. That, however, is not a complaint, as the watch benefits greatly from that dome, which gives it an authentic vintage feel. Beneath the pleasure dome, and adding yet more to the vintage aesthetic, is a cream-coloured dial which slopes from its flat centre to its outer edge. There are gold-toned applied indices and numerals for the hour markers which Merkur describe as being gold-plated. A bonus if that's true. There are Arabics for the even hours of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. These have been given a fresh modern font, an update from the original. The remaining indices are sharp, well-proportioned triangular wedges. The outer rim of the dial has a well-defined printed minute chapter ring with Arabics to depict the 5-second markers. Below the 12 o'clock is a red china star framed with a gilt edge. The black printed calligraphy, I'm reliably informed, tells us that this watch has 19 joules and is water resistant to 30 meters. Please let me know if that's not the case. Above the 6 o'clock position is yet more calligraphy that states Made in China. The handset is a complete departure from the original. They are relatively broad, flat Dauphine hour and minute hands with quite a coarse, unrefined brushed gold finish. A very deliberate act to emphasize its vintage vibe, which also helps to hide the odd scratch. The seconds hand is a very slim gold stick and not the original red. The points of all these hands reach their markers admirably. The seconds hand moves at a respective 6 ticks per second, powered by the Hangzhou SL07 movement within. The SL07 is a hand-wind only caliber with 19 joules and a power reserve of around 30 hours. It has a beat rate of 21,600 ticks per hour. This is my first hand-wind only watch on the channel, and I need to remind myself to wind this every morning, at least until I finish this review. 30 half turns seems to be enough to fully wind this watch before it comes to a hard stop. Merkur recommend that you don't fully wind the movement. Merkur also say that each of their watches is adjusted for better accuracy. I think maybe this one was missed by their quality control, as it's running somewhere between plus 70 and 80 seconds per day, not an insubstantial amount. The rear of the case is highly polished to a mirror standard. I don't imagine it will remain that way for long. It's engraved with Chinese text and calligraphy affirming the details outlined on the dial. The screw-down caseback has a unique decagon-shaped locking frame, making it quite awkward to remove. And trust me, I've tried. A specialist tool may be required. The stainless steel expansion bracelet is 20mm wide around its entire circumference. Its simple polished design has been added to with a central spine. I can't help but look at this and think armadillo, and to the touch it feels somewhat like stroking a snake. It's deliberately large to accommodate bigger wrists. If you have anything smaller than an 8-inch wrist, then you will need to resize this flexible reptile, and that's no easy matter. A quite laborious, tedious task that will require the patience of a saint, keen eyesight, and possibly better tools than I currently possess. Regardless, perseverance will pay off. You need to unfold metal and remove some tiny pins, subtract the required links, then torture yourself by putting it all back together again. It's a real labour of love that you won't want to repeat. Once sized, getting it on the wrist comes with its own inherent dangers. Finger nipping and hair plucking are guaranteed. Surprisingly, it's a very comfortable wear. The watch sits perfectly and quite svelte on my 7-inch wrist, and due to its lack of weight and movement, it doesn't feel like I'm wearing a watch at all. The watch comes with a 2-year guarantee and ships in a Merkur branded shiny black travel case with a Kevlar-like woven finish. It's well padded and has a stowage area for a thick instruction manual that you can throw away and replace with some extra straps. It's a pretty decent case that I will put to good use carrying a second watch on my travels. The Red Army first Chinese watch is advertised as a Seagull 1963 style watch. That is a complete misnomer and somewhat misleading. Although the Red Army prototype may, and I stress may, have influenced the design of the later Seagull 1963 Chinese Air Force chronograph, sadly it doesn't have the elaborate and ornate ST19 movement or its display case back. Courtesy of that Seagull 1963 name tag, I was really looking forward to reviewing the Red Army watch. I loved its vintage styling, its proportions, the overly large domed crystal, gilt indices and warm-toned edge-looking dial. And I thought it would be a refreshing change to see a Chinese watch that was unashamedly Chinese and not a Rolex homage. Needless to say, I am very disappointed with the accuracy of the Hangzhou SL07 movement, which makes a non-hacking watch even less accurate than I would like. The cheese grater crown is also something I could live without. Strangely, being a bracelet fanboy, I will gladly put this retro nippy hair plucker in a drawer and replace it with something more wearable and fitting of the watch. A touch of leather or maybe even a NATO. I should mention that for an extra $5 you can purchase the Red Army watch with a camo nylon strap, which will save you the hour of grief you will spend resizing that beastly bracelet. However, even with all its negatives, I'm a little taken with its vintage-inspired design and its history, no matter how dubious that history may be. The fact that it also has a big star on the dial, albeit red and not blue, reminds me of large amounts of Newcastle brown ale that was quaffed during my youth. You might want to Google that or do a search for bottle of dog. The Red Army First Chinese watch is the most affordable watch in the Merkur lineup. I'll add a link to the website in the video description below so you can check out their other offerings. Just remember to use my last watch discount code to save yourself $40 on whatever takes your fancy. Compared to the bulk of my current collection, the Red Army is quite unique in its appearance and may well spend some time on my wrist when a tool watch is not required. That is, of course, provided the occasion is not time sensitive, or at least until I've had the opportunity to regulate that wayward movement. Thanks to Merkur for sending me the Wuxing Homage, it's much appreciated, and I hope to have more of your watches on the channel sometime soon. And to you last watchers, please share your thoughts on the Red Army watch. I look forward to reading your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.